Super.
I would, what a huge mistake I see people make sometimes, and the one thing you don't want to do is have skills on your resume, go in, and then they ask you what's your experience with it, and you say something along the lines of, "I worked with a team and they used that," and it's like, that's an easy way to finish an interview early. I have seen that many times for president.
Okay, so remember that. You write something down on your resume as something you're familiar with. You've never run a data set with it, and you say that it was a tool or program that my team used. Now, Kyle, how does that reconcile with um, the opposing maybe, or is it opposing perspective, is that if you're at least familiar with something like Python, you should put it on your resume. So because we want, on one hand, we want to show people that we have the skills that they're asking for and to definitely have it featured on the resume, even if we're not expert in it. But then how do we handle that situation where maybe one of these skills we haven't ever done anything with? Should we still put it on the resume? What if we are in that position where all we can say is, I was on a team that
Yeah.
worked
Uh,
on this?
my rule of thumb for it is if it's critical for the position and it's called out in the job description, you need to be able to talk about it. If it also depends on the interview type, like the type of interview you're in. I like to conduct resume interviews, and this is where I pull up their resume and I'm like, "Hey, you did this project. Tell me about it." And then, like, so on here, let's say, you've got like CNN on here. I'll be like, I'll ask you, tell me about the project, and then I'll explain CNNs to me. How do they work? And then I'll probably ask you a pretty basic question that I expect you to get to be able to describe. And then I'll ask you a question that I'm like 50-50 whether I would expect you to get it right or not. And then I'll ask you a very challenging question that I do not expect you to get it right. But if you answer it, I'm going to be like, wow, this guy knows this stuff. So like that's kind of like the thing is like if you see the skill called out in the job description, you can expect they're going to ask you questions about it. So depending on the skill, if it's something that you can very quickly pick up before the interview, and you don't quite have it, and you're pretty confident you're a fast learner, you could go ahead and put it down with the caveat that you're going to put in the effort to cram it before that interview. I would say SQL is actually one of those things you could do. If you're a fast learner, you could pick up everything you need to know for SQL in a weekend. You don't need to be able to build databases. You typically need to just get data out of databases. And that's something you could probably cram. So it's kind of something you just got to learn. What can you cram? What can you not? I wouldn't try and learn neural networks at the last minute. That's something you should probably know before you put it on the resume.
Yeah. So we can kind of see how this progresses in the job hunt, where rather than saying at the beginning of the job hunt, we are such and such a person, and then go through a process of talking with people and definitely getting rejections and concluding that this person that isn't getting offers, therefore getting a job is too hard, right? We could take that approach. I think a lot of people do. But how about we think about it this way, is as you go through this process of, okay, you have this interview, you see these skills are necessary, you're tested on them, you cram for them. And as you continue through that process, your ability to get interviews and offers is increasing over time. So the person that you are here getting the offer is that person that has kind of risen through the days and weeks of cramming or preparing, having multiple conversations. You're at this quality of candidate by this point, and you're going to get an offer from another great firm. So I can see already here what Kyle's saying is that this job hunt process of figuring out what the requirements are for a job, getting the application sent, preparing in advance of that interview for these things is really just making you a stronger candidate as you go week by week. And you're changing constantly. You're, just like you're not the same person you were in high school, right? Like, no way, you're so different. So the job hunt was going to be like that too, where, a couple of weeks of cramming, like Daolong just finished an assessment project. So he's not the same job hunter that he was 2 days ago. because he's now one more assessment into this process and has, you know, more tools and more experience. So for this, so back to the resume, what I'd love to do with Daolong's resume is eventually get it to a fully revised version.
Mhm.
And so I'd like us to eventually get there, maybe not today, but move in that direction. What can we say about his bullet points? Now, you know, if you've taken my course, you know that I'm a guy interested in this results by action taken format. And I'd like to get your thoughts, Kyle, on where you see opportunities
Yeah.
for this resume.
I do have a question about this resume though, is what are you applying for? Like what types of positions are you applying for with this resume? Because that's going to change my advice.
So Daolong,
Kyle, like if I got this correctly, you asked me what kind of jobs that I'm applying for with the resume, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so I want to like apply for data scientist and data analytics jobs, but like although those two jobs have kind of similarities, but also with a lot of differences.
Mhm.
I want like just like because of like just like make it an easy way. I want to use the single resume to apply for both jobs.
Yeah. So that's not gonna work well.
Okay.
So you're gonna need separate resumes. And in fact, I would actually say this resume, I wouldn't even send this to all data science applications. Data science, I usually tell people is not an actual job. There's the reason I say that is because it's so different from company to company that it's not like I used to do like studying to become a medicinal chemist. Medicinal chemist at one company is pretty much going to be doing the same thing as another company. For data science, it is so different that the term has become pretty meaningless. And so the field of data science has become like 6 or 7 different jobs in terms of what they actually do. And you're seeing, and you see like titles have become split up. So I used to be officially a data scientist, but they've changed my title to a machine learning engineer because I'm a data scientist that specializes in machine learning. And so this seems like to me a resume that would focus mostly on machine learning from the skills I'm seeing in there. But if you were applying for a data science position and that company that job posting is really focused on like the operations research side of data science, I would not consider you for an interview. So if you're sending this to each of the different areas of data science, you're going to have a hard time. So the categories I usually divide, sorry, cat's eating a plant. The categories I usually divide data science into are business, machine learning, big data, math and operations research. You can kind of group algorithms in there, programming, data visualization, and statistics. Those are like the main categories. And when you're looking at job postings, the first thing you should do is like, which category does this job posting fit into? Are the skills they're looking for primarily machine learning, or is it primarily statistics, or is it more algorithms focused? And the reason is what you'll want to do is make separate resumes for each of those categories. And when you say, hey, this is a machine learning one, I'm going to send my machine learning resume. This one's my OR one, I'm going to send my OR one. I had so much better success when I started doing that. When I started doing that, I went from struggling to get interviews to struggling to not get suspicion from my team for how many times I had to step away from work to go take interviews. It was actually very problematic for a couple weeks, and I had to slow down my applications because of that. So like you'll get a lot more if you customize it. So this is a very machine learning focus. So like all three I believe are machine learning.
Like Kyle, like before you continue, can I ask a question? So you say like I know that data science has a lot of like subcategories, like, and each company has a different focus and different definitions of what data science mean. and using that, I need to like make some other uh uh other like I need like in order, for example, in order to take the big data focused data science jobs, I need to make another version. But for those different subcategories of different data science for the data science jobs, I may not have a lot of experiences related to those.
Yep. So
Yeah.
the way I would say for those, if there's
But
areas
like
you don't have much skills, go do some projects if you want to apply for them. Yeah.
but if all those projects, but like if I just like do this project compared with other people's resumes, like they have different interests or projects, like specific focused in that jobs, I may not be in a good advantage. Right.
Let me ask you this: are you in a better spot than you are with this resume? Is the bigger question. Like, that's really the main thing. Is you want to be better than you were before, and I think that would kind of get you there. You also got to remember that. So, like, I was just hiring people. Someone last week, so HR or talent acquisition sent me like 50 resumes, and I'm hiring for a Scrum Master, and they sent me these resumes, and I'm like, I got a stack of 50 of them. I'm not spending much time reading each one. I literally, the first thing I look for, do you have the skills that I'm looking for? If not, I'm throwing you out. Out of the people left, I'm going to go through their bullet points. Which of them have like shown a history of delivering value? And so I think that's kind of like what we want to show in the bullet points is the focus is on what the outcome or the value you provided. As a hiring manager, I honestly don't really care about how good my experience, like the experience working at my company is for you. I'm not focused on that at this part of the process. I'm focused on, I have a problem at my company and my solution is to hire someone with this desired skill set. And I want to make sure I'm hiring someone that can give me the most value. And so the best way to do that is to show that you have a history of delivering that value, because the absolute worst mistake I can make as a hiring manager is hiring someone that just does not care about delivering value. And they come in like, all right, what do you want me to do? I'll just go do it. I guess, I don't know, it'll take however long it takes. Because those types of people don't get much work done, and it's more of a problem for me. So the best predictor of whether you're going to be successful is if you've been able to be successful in the past. So that's really what I look for next. So like here on these bullet points, I would say like let's focus on each of these of like you want to show the outcome or the value that you provided here. So the other thing that I usually see in error with for machine learning and data science type projects is people often focus on the accuracy, which is a good measure of value. But the problem is I cannot possibly understand whether that's good or not without context. So we need to put this in context. Is 95% good? I don't know. So I would probably, an easy way to do that is to compare it to a more basic model. I typically would recommend for classification, do logistic regression if it's reasonable for the problem. If it's regression problem, do linear regression. And the idea is the value is the difference in the accuracies. So you improve the performance from a basic model that most people could probably do to something that requires a bit more expertise, which is what you're bringing to the company. And like difference is the value you provided.
Okay, so yeah, I have a kind of like clue for that bullet point. Maybe I can say like like for example the same model like for the branching and like the index fixings and other stuffs, it was like let's say like 70% of accurate classification, and like after the things I did and listening the bullet points, I can say that I increased it to 95 accuracy.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And then like similarly down here, I love that you called out the different models you made. I would maybe say like, you said to select the best way, but I would actually say and found that like which model performed better. because that
Okay.
also leads to a great discussion in the interview. Because then I'm probably going to ask like, why do you think that one did better? um,
Yeah.
and you want to use this to tell your story in the interview. It's kind of like a template for your stories.
Okay.
I will say decision tree. I usually ask people what type of decision tree. So I would maybe be more specific there. I don't like studied. That's a bit more of a weak one. I would be a bit more action focused there. But
Okay.
otherwise, all of your other verbs are great verbs. I love them.
Okay, great.
So what I'm gonna ask the people in this program to do is to implement what Kyle's saying. And so when I say, like, how do we implement what Kyle's saying here? Well, Kyle's looking through these bullet points. Once someone has the resume somehow gets into this person's hand, all right? And the people who applied online, let's say they made it in this scenario, they got there, not a referral. So they're looking at that, and they have the skills, and then Kyle goes to the bullet points. He's looking for value. So how can we communicate the value? And the practical way of doing that is to create a bullet point with that format: results by action taken. Obtained X% increase in accuracy in XYZ by action taken. And what you don't know is that by attending a classical educational institution, you're getting a template that is considered the example template. And what you're going to find in there is that those don't talk about results. The reason why they don't talk about results is because you can't take a template and teach a template unless it's just a template, just a very general thing. So what you're presented with as a good resume is this document that just mentions actions taken. And not many people will take the time to sit down with you and say, okay, let's really reflect on what you did here. What were some of the results here? And actually challenge you a little bit to think about that. Because when we're interning and doing jobs, we might not actually know what the results are. No one maybe told us. We're just there to do a particular thing. Meanwhile, they're working on, I am making, example would be as like my job is making photocopies and stapling documents and in investment banking. That's my action taken, or creating PowerPoints. The thing that we're getting done, the result is the closing of this deal for X millions of dollars. So that's the thing that's being accomplished. And that's the thing that Kyle's looking for, because Kyle is the deal maker in this situation. Kyle is the one running projects and getting things done and looking for those outcomes. Because if in his business, if he can improve, say, accuracy by 0.1% across 1 billion different transactions by his company, he's hitting a home run. And so that's huge. That's the result that his CIO is looking for. So who Kyle just presented to yesterday, by the way. So what we need to look at, or was it today? So what we need to look at is the results. And so it's the results by action taken format. When I look at this resume, it's a great first draft. Kyle's saying it needs to be multiple resumes. So we're going to have to look at that. Within each bullet point, I'm going to ask you, Daolong, to, in addition to the videos that you're going to watch, I want you to watch the resume video, the resume training that I have for you, because that is going to teach you step by step what to do. And here, tracked biomedical cells and videos recorded in electrode-based microfluidic devices. Okay, that's the action you took, but where is the result? So I'm going to challenge you on that and say, where is the result? Because this work in high-speed biomedical imaging might be the bench level scientific work for a $10 trillion industry. So where can we look, step back and say, okay, why are we tracking these biomedical cells? Why are we capturing video frames? Why are we proposing and integrating a CNN model with cell images to accomplish multi-view ML classification? Why? And then the why of that research is this test of this hypothesis that something can happen. Okay, why do we have that hypothesis? What's the purpose for that? If you can make the connection between why your principal investigator is doing what they're doing, and the work, the action you're taking in the bullet points, that's the story that Kyle is talking about. Okay. So Kyle said, hey, these bullet points are a short mnemonic for the stories that you'll tell in your interviews. The way to have a strong story is to capture that in the bullet point. So what I'm going to recommend we do is after this, I'll take the mic back to Kyle. I'm going to throw up on the screen the resume course. And if you haven't gone through that, I'm going to just briefly introduce that. So Kyle, please continue.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about this resume, and I might actually recommend something I don't usually recommend. So I think this is a good standard format of education, professional experience, research experience, extracurricular. And I think that normally is a good way to do it. But my concern here is if you're applying for a machine learning focused resume or position, your professional experience, as I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, your experience doesn't really match what I'm looking for. And so you're starting out behind where you were before I read that. So now I'm like, why am I considering this person? And then you're kind of clawing your way back here. You never want to do that. You always want to start off like, hey, this person looks good. Let's keep reading, because I might quit reading before I even get to the bottom half. So in this case, if you're applying for machine learning and you don't have machine learning professional, the most important thing on your resume is relevance. I don't care if you did it professionally or if it was a personal project, or even if it was a project you did for a week in a class. The most important thing is relevance. And so because this stuff is way more relevant to what you're applying for, in this case, I would actually maybe move this up, make that the first thing that they see.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a great point. So what I'm going to further implement here among Kyle's advice is the resume format that we always use, which is to not try to distinguish between research experience and project experience. I am implementing the standard here, okay? The standard, the thing that Kyle is saying is what he's recommending as maybe different than what he normally does, is actually the standard here. When appropriate. I think it's appropriate in most cases. And that is to say, I'm going to have one category, because what we're talking about here is people who are new to the job hunt, who don't have years of experience. A lot of your work is going to be project-based. So let's not try to carve out which is professional and which is not. Generally speaking, if you have just one category called experience, and then are able to then implement, like, in order the things that are the most relevant, you don't have to, like Kyle says, try to claw your way back to relevance. You had some skills at the top, Kyle was interested, then suddenly I'm reading about you being a business pitcher. Like, what even is that? That's not even a position that people have, although I understand your idea with that. No one has that title. So suddenly you're out in business pitching space on startups. Okay, I'm kind of done here. So rather than let that happen, let your project experience be featured by removing this distinction between project and work experience and bringing those relevant projects to the top, so that you not only does that help you in terms of relevance, you just look like you have more experience, because you have one long, visually, it looks like one big section of experience. And that's important as well. And Kyle, like you said, Kyle's not going to get, as an interviewer, he's not going to get caught up in, whether you were paid or unpaid necessarily, right? But that is the distinction. Anything that was paid can be considered work experience. Anything that was unpaid is considered some other kind of experience, but both are experience. So just have one section on your resume called experience. And Kyle, I have implemented my standard in this course, which is to put the, let me go back. Why don't you go ahead and share your screen again? Which is to put the professional summary, then the technical skills, then the experience, and put the work and put the education at the very bottom. Is there any situation? I mean, as a hiring manager in data science, where are you on that today? Do you get?
I completely agree. Like education, I usually say goes on the bottom of page one. The reason is, and it depends on the industry. I would say if you're in an industry where they really care about the prestige of where you're you went, then yeah, maybe put it up top. But most data science, they mostly care, do you have the required education for this position? If yes, I'm gonna move on. Where the value of like the university that you go to comes in is like if you're on the fence. Like if you're on the fence and I'm like, all right, well, they went to a good university, they probably have like some good knowledge here, I'll give them an interview. But it's not gonna make or break anything. So I would put it at the bottom. The most things that like as Stuart said was like skills. Like if you don't have the skills, I don't need to bother with the rest. I'm not going to spend like 3 years teaching you the skills. So that should be way up top. And then relevant experience. If you don't catch my attention in the first, couple paragraphs of your experience, don't see a reason. I've got like 50 other applicants. I don't need to keep reading.
So everybody on the call, your resume has the following format: professional experience, which is one sentence which describes that you do what they want you to do based on the job description. And if you don't, it's the general professional statement. Then you have a section called skills or tools and languages, which is going to be delineated by, in this case, operations and research, languages, visualization, these different categories. And we can go into that later. That's your second section. Your third section is experience. And that is not going to distinguish between professional or non or project or not. And then at the very bottom, you're going to have your education experience. And I understand that is the opposite of what your educational schools are telling you. They are telling you to put it at the top. They're saying, oh, only experienced people should put that at the top or at the bottom because you're a student and you need to follow. No, that is bullshit. Okay, that is bullshit. All right, it's just these people are given a template and they're told to teach a template. But talk to the people who are actually making the hiring decisions. Okay. They don't care. Okay.
I do advise students at Washington University in St. Louis on their stuff. And one of the things that WashU always tells their students is your education should be at the top. It's a great school because they want to sell the school. You shouldn't care about selling their school. You should care about getting a job. And as a hiring manager, I really don't care too much about that. So go straight into the stuff that I care.
Sell yourself by featuring, thank you. Sell yourself by featuring the thing that these people care about and need in a new hire. Sell yourself first. Sell the school second. It's a great way of saying it. So your resume doesn't need to be an advertisement for the school. It's an advertisement for how you will kick butt as a new hire in this firm. So we've got a few, maybe we're kind of coming up on the hour here. Where would you, I'm probably going to recommend that, I know you have a busy schedule, Kyle, I'm probably going to recommend that we do a deeper dive with Daolong's resume as your time allows, as we've done in the past occasionally. And I'll probably I will send Daolong some of the prior resume reviews that we have done, links to those videos where he can review the stuff that we did together.
Yeah.
And I'll make that available to everyone else.
I didn't want to
Great.
it does look like you have some space down here. Like you have like an extra couple of lines to work with. Like you it doesn't matter what resume you got. You should always fill up all the space. It is everything about maximizing the information per square inch of your resume. So do fill it out. I don't know, Stuart, your opinion on like extracurriculars. My rule of thumb for them is if you've got space for it and you can't think of anything that's irrelevant, go ahead and fill in the space with it. But anything that's relevant should be taking precedent over that. I care more about seeing relevant experience than like, whether you volunteer at the local animal shelter. You can tell me about the volunteering stuff in an interview because I'll be like, tell me about yourself. And that's your chance to be like, hey, I like to do all these things, but I'm a person too, and I like to do these things.
Yep, I'm with you there. So if there's space, fair enough. If there's not, let's let that question get answered later once we get the exact bullet points we want to have in place. Because once you do dial in the bullet points in the actual language and fill out that skills section, then you know what space you actually have to play with at that point. And you might actually get a couple lines back, in which case you need to find something else, or you need to supplement something else, or you just need like to make your name 16-point font instead of 14-point font, whatever it is, to just kind of massage and play with the formatting of the document. So just quick question, does anyone have any questions before we go today? Just unrelated to resumes, just anything. If you do, just kind of put yourself off of mute and I can call on you. Right now, it's me and Kyle who are the only unmuted ones. So if you have a question about your own job hunt or your own resume. Okay. So thank you, Kyle, for your time. I really appreciate it. Guys, I don't know if you appreciate how special this opportunity is, because Kyle is, he's doing so many great things. Not only is he actually doing career advisory at an esteemed university, he's also at the caliber where he's hiring people as data scientists to support his teams. So this is a real opportunity. I hope you all take advantage of this time and opportunity with Kyle, because it's not going to be around forever. And so anything we're doing related to the resume, take it to heart. And I will make this link available to all of us so that we can review it later. So I'll put on a link. I'll put it on an unlisted YouTube link, and I'll send you the link. And then separately, for anyone that wants to do a resume review with Kyle, just let me know. You can email me, and then we'll find the time and we'll get that done. Okay. Next up will be Daolong, and then Harry, for you, I want to see you revise your resume according to the training. If anyone wants a resume review, please first make it your best work following the trainings. That way it'll save us just so much time, and I'll make sure exactly you know where to look to do those, to get those trainings. Okay. So thank you for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We're kind of halfway through the week. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you at least on Friday at 11:30 Central for our Friday weekly call. So thank you so much, Kyle. Appreciate it.
That's it.
Thank you,
Everyone else?
Stuart, Kyle.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Sure. Goodbye.
See you guys.